nuclear testing restarting is a blank decision.
I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I'm going to say it's kind of a terrifying decision. And if you haven't been paying attention, when the president was in Asia, ahead of this big summit with Xi, he tweeted out, essentially, well, I guess he posted on Truth Social, that the U.S. is going to restart nuclear weapons testing because he claimed Russia and China are both building up their stockpiles. They both have greater arms capabilities than we do right now. And it's a kind of a strange turn from someone who we've been told is supposed to be the president of peace. And on its own, I wouldn't be as worried about this if the president wasn't on the verge of knocking off a couple of countries in South America, if he wasn't potentially escalating the actual arms that we're providing to the Ukrainians through our NATO allies. The Pentagon last week cleared the way for him to actually start sending Tomahawk missiles, which of course is something Ukraine has been asking about for about 2.5 years or now. And it feels out of Congress with what we saw through early last month, which was the president securing all these peace deals, bringing about a ceasefire in the war in Gaza. And I feel like he's backsliding a little bit because of what's happening with the war in Ukraine. And one thing we didn't hear out of the White House following that meeting with Xi was, did you ask the Chinese president, like you told us, to step in and convince Vladimir Putin, again, someone who are, really their only one-to-one allies on the global stage, to end this war and take Ukraine's concessions, which are expansive, a significant amount of territory, and we didn't hear anything about that. So it makes me wonder, how committed to this peace agenda are they really? Everyone talks about peace through strength. This seems to me like a president who is kind of throwing a temper tantrum and threatening to not necessarily take his ball and go home because the kids don't want to play with him the way he wants to. He's just going to blow up the ball with a new hyped-up nuclear weapon. So I'm a little terrified. I can tell by your snickering.
Oh,
you
that
think
I'm
an idiot. Yeah, just
disagree with every bit of that.
Tell me why I'm being crazy.
Okay, here's why you're being crazy. So all of the things that you listed as Donald Trump having done successfully, primarily the peace deal in the Middle East, that's a result of Donald Trump sort of breaking free from the foreign policy establishment thinking that has underpinned U.S. foreign policy towards a lot of these issues, including all 4 years of the Biden presidency, when it was very much like a middle-of-the-road blob thinking traditional approach to the Ukraine-Russia war, and nothing happened. In fact, the conflict became even more of a stalemate because of the thinking that went into that. And part of why Donald Trump has had so many diplomatic successes, I know his critics, potentially including yourself, wouldn't want to give him that, but through his first term, Abraham Accords, that sort of thing, and to now, is because he's approached these issues differently and always with this sort of air of unpredictability for allies and adversaries alike. They don't know what he's going to do next. And that sort of changes the calculus in terms of negotiations, which, like it or not, Donald Trump is a pretty capable negotiator. It's clear that at times in the talks over the Ukraine war, Donald Trump has misjudged the intentions or the sort of hand that Putin is holding.
Sure.
But this to me doesn't seem like some sort of insane escalation, at least not with everything we know right now. The Energy Secretary has kind of walked it back. He's like, no, we're not blowing stuff up. We're just firing up the computers. We're testing out the systems.
Yeah. Well, Chris Wright even said we're trying to advance the systems themselves, not the actual warhead. So there won't be mushroom clouds over Nevada, which reassuring,
Don't worry,
guess,
guys.
a little bit. Yeah.
So all of that to say that this seems like part and parcel of the Trump playbook so far, which is to sometimes throw crazy things out there to get everybody paying attention, but in ways that often meaningfully move the ball forward towards his end goal.
That's fair. I mean, again, I can't really disagree with you, and this is ultimately when you're talking about, advanced world-shattering weapons systems. I think a degree of skepticism is fair, but I would agree with you. And, even during his first term, I think the Abraham Accords what he did to normalize relations with Israel and some of the other, or not the other Arab nations, but Arab nations in that part of the world, is probably the most successful part of his presidency, and even one that, again, his critics can look at and say, okay, things could have gone significantly worse. I hope he is doing what you're saying and just trying to carry a really, really big stick. But I'm sure we'll be probably talking about this one again next week and the following weeks after.